fiscal practices.
Are you recording?
Ooh,
Gemini?
and recording notes over here. Thank you for all these reminders. We skipped a weekend, you can tell. Okay. It's Friday. All right.
Okay.
Rick had to run off to do something, so he will jump in as soon as he is done. I'm just gonna get rolling. And Chip, I'm gonna go over the couple meetings that I'm aware of, but if there's any details or fine tuning you wanna add to my general update, feel free to interject. The two that happened this week is we had a meeting with the auditing group and reviewed what documents we would need to prepare in order to have and turn that around as quickly as possible, because that is one of the key pieces that the Vermont Bond Bank needs to then enter in their next queue to line up our bond bank. Or, hey Susie, welcome. To get that rolling in the spring. So we were talking about strategies, what would be helpful, and what they need, and we designated Chip as our point person to make sure all communications, making sure we're streamlining, not duplicating, and just addressing things as they need. So everybody in the downstairs office and department heads have already been tasked with a few things, like addressing their fixed assets and some other things that are that they can front load before the field work begins, which is with the end of this month, the auditors are going to come in person and work with the office downstairs to do that. Any other?
Was there any conversation at all concerning the past audits and what's been found since then? And do we know why some of these things were missed and how we're going to rectify this?
We did mention it, one of the main factors, which is the homestead tax and how that was being miscounted and as revenue. And my reaction, or Chip, let me know if I'm wrong, but they were also kind of surprised by it, which was surprising. And yeah, what did you think about our conversation, Chip, about like previous audits? Or was it mostly just kind of focused on how to make the current one plus the single audit streamlined moving forward?
Yeah, I think they quickly relegated to how are we going to get the information to start this audit, and there was not really a reflection on past audits. And I think that was partly because Rick kind of set the tone saying, we're not looking back for any problems. We got to figure out what we're doing and move forward. And I think they bid onto that opportunity as opposed to saying, well, this and well, that. Also, since that time, Frank looked through Becky's system and could not find anything that was clearly identifiable as past audit submitted files. So we really don't have anything of a history of how information got to the auditors. So I think it was haphazard and piecemeal by their request to direct individuals and not by an organization structure, which I recommended that we do this time. Unfortunately, it got appointed to me, so that's where we're headed.
Just want to comment on that, because that actually makes absolutely no sense. We had a city manager who was a control freak. There is no way that stuff would have gone in a quote haphazardly. It just doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Well, and the struggle, I'm just going to say, on Pam's behalf and with her, that unfortunately, there are people that are going to say, I totally recognize Rick's desire to move forward, but there are a lot of people in this town that are saying, why?
Right.
And I've been paying my taxes for the last 10 years, why?
Right.
And what happened to all this stuff, and where's the paperwork, and who do we blame, and can't, I've already had it, Pam's already had it.
Right.
And I'm not trying, I've told Rick that I won't get up here, but I'm just gonna say, this is what happened and this is when it happened. And I've already been asked a couple of times, why didn't the auditors catch it? And the only thing that a friend of mine who does auditing on a small scale said to me was, it really depends on what you ask the auditors to do. And if we can't produce those documents, we don't know what we ask the auditors to do. And if we didn't tell them to go look at the revenue streams or like that kind of stuff, they wouldn't have looked at it. And that's the only way that my friend could explain how they could have missed something like that. So,
I don't know what's the protocol for asking questions.
It's pretty loose.
I'm just curious, like, because there is obviously a bare minimum requirement of what municipalities are supposed to require in an audit, right? I mean, that's part of the state's requirements as part of our funding. So, like, would that not be part of a basic audit? I think that would be an important question to ask.
I will say we did discuss in the past how it was, the information was delivered from different people, and how this year we're going to be streamlining it and make sure we have things on time. Because the other piece I would say in the most recent history with the audit is it was not finalized until very, very late, and that doesn't give us much time to reflect and discuss and have a dialogue about it. So I think the efforts is also to not only give them more information, more organized information on time, but that way we can have the audit and actually review it and digest it before we're also talking about budgeting and passing it for town meeting day. So there is I can only speak to so much because I was not on the council. But I think moving forward, there's a much more definitive process. And so I think this audit hopefully will be a little bit more comprehensive and more applicable for what we need it to be. Because I think in the past, it just was they were doing the best they could. Whose plate that is on, whose that gets delegated to, I think we'd be wasting time. So,
Are these the same auditors that have done past audits that we were
Yes.
talking to, and they're going to do
Yes.
this again?
Yeah.
yes.
I thought we were going to ask for the previous audit agreements from them
Yeah.
and get those previous audit agreements. Are they able to produce those, like what the what those were going to be? Because and I'm very much of because I don't have the baggage of forget the past, move forward, but I
You want people to vote, it's support of what we're being asked to vote for, is there a clean up something?
exactly, but I think it's all about energy and time, and we have to get there. So not dropping it off the radar, but focus on what's the most immediate. And I think that's maybe not the most immediate. So, but I would like to see what the past contracts were, and they should have the contracts. And that's probably the first and best place to start from, because then we can ask good questions. So if maybe by the way, what are those?
These are Fiscals. I want to scum.
they're raspberry scones.
Okay, because as Rick, as our fearless leader, decided to dive in,
You don't have to call me twice.
They're also my first attempt at
Do
this
it.
recipe.
Oh, you made them, Carter?
Yeah. They're like way overdue.
Would you like to split one, Ann?
There's,
Sorry,
So
Chip.
good. Sorry, Chip. We'd feed you if we could.
Yeah.
You was not included in that.
these are sponsored by NEK Vapors. It's going to be the best meeting we've ever had.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Let's see. And the other.
So, but if we could just get the one thing, if we could get the past couple of contracts, then I think it's a good idea to dig in and ask those questions about what was supposed to happen and how it happened. But until then, we're just kind of throwing darts in the dark. So let's just, when is the next meeting with the auditors?
Did we set one up?
What are we talking about?
The auditors.
We're looking for the contract.
27.
27? Okay, yeah, I know they're coming in town and I didn't know at the end of the month.
Yeah, so they'll be here to actually do the on-site audit work.
So if we can get the agreements of what was to be delivered and was delivered and sent out to the group, so we can at least start asking some questions down the road.
You got it.
I think that's a good starting place.
Can I ask another question? In the past and then moving forward, what has the process looked like for when you receive the audit? Any of the findings? What is done with those findings? How are they corrected?
Normally, we get the audit back in September or 1st of October. Last year was different. They were still asking for stuff in December that they haven't received. That's why it took.
But when the findings are received by Newport, what is done with them to correct them?
Well, you give them the information they asked for, and they do that.
Okay.
It's published with the annual report, but in recent years at least, there's been no effort to try and reconcile that, if that's what you need.
Yeah, because the recent audits showed findings, showed issues.
Correct.
And then,
Nothing happened,
okay,
except all of what we're doing right now.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure I'm stating the obvious, but as the process moving forward, something should be in place.
You are stating the
for
obvious.
what happens.
Absolutely.
And with regard to that, with regard to the report on the single audit last year, the auditors reported that there were numerous errors in the single audit that had to be corrected, but they don't describe what they are.
They did, to interrupt. There were 69 footnotes, but they never got attached to the audit, right?
I don't know the answer to that question, and I'm not sure.
But it would be good to know what the errors were so that we have a clue of how to correct it ourselves this time before it even happens.
How much have you reported about the auditor, the conversation we had with the auditor?
That's where we just started,
All right.
yeah.
So I'll just say, we had a very frank conversation on Tuesday with the auditors, and we assured them that the city of Newport would be moving with alacrity to answer their questions, that we expected to have all of the things they say they need in place before they come for their visit on the 28th or 29th, and that we are hopeful that they will have a good and clean report to us by roughly the middle of October at the latest. And they have reworked the contract. The initial contract did not have a cost in it. The reason it didn't have a cost in it is because last year's process was so hard on them that they were loath to put a number on a piece of paper about what they might find this year in terms of their amount of time that they would have to put in to creating an audit. So basically we said, we understand your position, but it's not acceptable and we won't sign a contract without some kind of an estimate. So I've got it. I confess I have not had a moment to read it carefully, but I think it came with an hourly rate. Is that right, Carter or Chip? Did you have a chance to read it?
I didn't read it, but I saw the hourly rate.
Yeah. So I won't sign it until we know, but they were going to come back with a ballpark on the number of hours they expect to use if it goes smoothly and we give them everything they want in a timely fashion, and an hourly rate so that we can actually do the math at this point. And we agreed that if we're super responsive on our end, it could be less, and if we run into problems that none of us foresee, it could be more. But, which is pretty standard, I think, for these kinds of contracts. So.
Did they provide any information as to what they need?
Yes, we've been given 3 pages of a checklist of all the documents. Chip's got it, Jim's got it, they're already going to work on it. We've got 3 weeks or a little less to produce everything they need, and we're headed down that road.
So I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I'm
But
going
you're
to.
about to.
I'm about to. So they've been doing this for years. I could sit here and make an assumption why the last year was hard for them. Is it because we were asking for different information? Is it because of outside forces? Or are we talking about a whole?
I don't know. I mean, I have some guesses that I'm not going to speculate about, certainly not on camera. But all I know is that they were still asking for key pieces of information that they needed to do their work as late as November and again in December.
So up front, they didn't have everything they needed
Correct.
from us up front to be able to complete the work.
That's what they say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other meeting we had was on Thursday. Rick, Jim, Chip, Frank, and myself got together and really talked about a number of things that we're going to then talk about more at length here today. And big takeaways from that meeting internally, figured that's when we delegated Chip as our point person for the audit, and just kind of got everybody on the same page within the city that really oversees, like Frank was helpful with the grant front. Obviously Jim is instrumental in this too. So there's just another layer of discussions and preparations for this. And we're have a little, at least attempts at time segmenting, but just recapping the council action. So on Monday, we move forward and we have officially warned a special meeting. It's going to take place on August 12th. And so now we have a deadline and a target for when we need to get the word out. The wording is in the packet online, but those are just a number of things that we're going to be asking the city to approve, or citizens, excuse me.
August the 12th is the election. Wasn't there supposed to be a special meeting before that?
Oh, okay, so I might be miswording things. There's a special meeting the Monday prior. Voting is on Tuesday, correct?
Yes.
Why are you rolling your eyes?
Because that will not get you people.
That's not what we're
That's
talking
not
about.
what I'm, please, yeah, like
Yeah,
that's our
relax.
deadline
We're-
to gather.
The council
and
stated their opinion that we should do a significant amount more than the legally required meeting the night before. So that's the conversation we're having today.
Right. So, yeah, so I'm just gonna that's my next thing on the, to talk about list is our communication strategy around that and what we think will be most effective. But before I start to dive in, are there any other updates that I'm missing?
I wasn't at the council meeting.
Yeah.
What is their opinion of what we've talked about, of the proposals and everything? I mean, was it passed by a majority? Was it passed by unanimous? I mean, what was the result?
It was all unanimous. I would say the thing that is most maybe up in the air would be the last article, which is about how do we reconcile the mistake on the homestead tax duplicative revenue. So about approximately 220,000. Is that something that maybe the department heads could look internally and say, hey, we can cut this out and so we don't have to then adjust the tax rate? Or is that something that we are going to ask? And do we want to go down the budgeting path, or are we just going to ask the citizens to cover what is an actual reflection of our tax needs? So
I think that's a great summation. I mean, basically the council acted, I think, cautiously by saying we're gonna make sure that we've warned that meeting with the question about recalculating the tax rate, and then we're gonna ask the department heads and the finance team to look carefully at the 25-26 budget to try and determine whether there are other mistakes we should know about, and to look at whether there are any places we think we could pick up some significant portion of that, so that we would have to do less of an adjustment.
So silly question, just because this is how most of us communicate and think of taxes.
yeah.
220,000, what is our population base? When we think of Newport, what's the population base?
4,400
So 4,400?
approximately.
Of people of all ages.
So how many taxpayers?
So it's basically $50 a head.
We
Is
had
what we're
some
saying.
fun math. Let me get my notes from that meeting, because it's 32,000 per cent. Sorry, 32,000 you need to raise as a cent on property taxes.
Every $32,000 is a penny on the tax rate.
So this ask is about 7 cents, which doesn't
Per
sound like a lot.
$100 of value of your property on the grand list.
Got
So
it.
if you had a $200,000 house, that's about $140 increase. Is what
So
that
I
equates
think
to.
just being ready, making sure we have those numbers for people, but also a lot of people talk in what's the cost per head, if we were to split it out equally, but obviously it's not equal. And then the property taxes, because I know there's a lot of rental properties, and because I'm not a renter, how does that, are the renters responsible for the property taxes, or is the property owner, I assume?
Property owner only.
Property owner is responsible for that,
Yeah.
so,
I think there's 1,900, 2,000 property owners, somewhere in that area.
I'm sorry,
1,900, 2,000 property owners in the city. Somewhere in that area.
okay.
And this would be just a one-time special assessment, and we would walk it back for next tax season, right?
Yes.
No,
No,
Oh, wait.
no.
no,
This is
No.
permanent
no, next
going
tax
forward.
season, we won't do the same mistake in budgeting.
Yeah.
So the rate theoretically should remain the same.
Yeah. So the problem, we go back to the whole thing, they subtracted out $220,000 out of the $5 million that we needed, and they shouldn't have. And so we have to add that back in. Right?
I'll try to, I want to describe to you mathematics of how that works. Typically, the amount to raise by taxation is total expenditures less other sources of revenue plus voted appropriations. Contained within other sources of revenue was a false $220,000 in the year we have yet to bill. But since 2018, there has been numbers treated as if it's other revenue when it never was. And so when this adjustment is made, it is actually to correct what has been used in the formula to set the tax, the amount to be raised by taxes, therefore the tax rate. So the tax rate has been falsely low since 2018.
To the tune of about 1.2 something million dollars. When you
Whatever those budget numbers add up to, but realize every year the grand list is slightly different.
Yeah.
So its impact would be different each year. But today it's 32,000 per penny.
So that's, if I'm not mistaken, where my head has finally gotten, is that that's part of that 1.8 that we're
It's
asking.
part of the cash shortage
Right,
generated because you never raised it.
that's right.
So sewer and water, but on a greater scale.
Yes, and that's one of the,
Yes.
yeah.
So, okay, so, I'm sorry, it was roughly, did we say 7 cents per 100 is what taxes would go up to cover the shortfall?
For just Article 5.
For just Article 5, not including anything else?
Yeah.
What's the total amount we're talking about, the mill rate going up to, and what's the total we're talking about then?
Yeah.
Adjusting taxes, has that been determined?
No, so
No.
that's one of the things that I actually meant to put on this, but I think might be naturally come to light once we talk about some of these other things, but getting a debt schedule, really assessing, like something that just happened on Monday. I was like, what is this really large amount that we're paying for the arsenic plant? Turns out it's a loan. So, but we didn't know about, like I didn't know about that one, and we have been having these conversations over and over. So there's just a number of long-term payment schedules that we're on already actively. And so just kind of at least identifying them, but then also folding in and these new ones that we need, will hopefully get, how do they add up? What is their cost?
So,
Yeah.
just to tease that out a little further, last night, Water and Sewer Task Force had an in-depth conversation about the fact that if voters approve the $1 million loan to address the due to others line on the sewer balance sheet, then that means that there will have to be a conversation by October 31st about adjusting the water and sewer rates effectively for the rest of this year in order to make sure we are bringing in enough money to cover the principal and interest payments starting probably roughly in October for 9 months. So that's how that would be covered. On the on the fire truck, we made a wild-ass guess that still looks to me to be fairly close back in January. It's one of the few wild-ass guesses we made that I think was pretty solid about what we might end up having to pay to service 8 to 9 months of principal and interest payments on that loan. But we still don't have the terms of that loan. We don't even have a borrower for that one yet. But that one's already included in the general operating fund budget that we passed. The $1.8 million, the request to the voters that they approve a $1.8 million loan out of for general fund deficit coverage has not been included in the budget at this point. So that's a conversation for another day. We can't really ask the voters in this moment how we're going to cover that because we don't have approval, we don't have terms, we don't know what it's going to really cost us. So my assumption, honestly, is that we're going to have to, part of the budget work we're going to have to do this fall is to come up with a pretty good estimate on what we think we're going to be paying against that note and look at where we're going to find some money in the budget to claw back for those payments the rest of this year. So those are the three biggies.
And isn't somewhere, maybe I'm dreaming that it was there, on any of the documentation from the Sunset, that we are talking, some of these things are 10-year note at this interest rate, and
We have not yet negotiated anything with Pasumsic,
Okay.
with the exception of two things. We warned it to ask for the ability to borrow up to 20 years on each of these two notes. But we haven't tried to figure out what the payments would be and what we can bear in the budget to try and determine that yet. And the other agreement as a part of the line of credit that we just took last week for $2.725 million is that the entirety of the loan that comes in, if we get approval for it, the $1.8 million loan, that money will go entirely to pay down the line of credit. Those are the only two agreements we have so far.
And the $3 million loan has already been incorporated in the water and sewer budget for this year. Because we estimated that.
I think that's right. I've got so many of these floating in my head now.
I think
I don't feel
so. I think
confident,
that's
but
right, too.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one I'm less worried about, assuming we can work with the Vermont Bond Bank on the financing for that to pick it up next year.
Any other questions about? Okay. Updates took a little bit longer, but that's okay. All right. Okay, so communication/education for the vote. Rick had some fun ideas. I have also additional thoughts. And I know Lori started a document. Rick, did you?
I haven't changed it at all.
You haven't
yet.
changed it at all? Okay. So,
yeah, I wanted to just see
I'm
it.
just trying to pull it up so that Chip can see it too.
And to grab a couple of copies. I don't know.
I have a copy.
You do? I'm thinking, trying to like how so we maybe work at
Oh,
that.
I must have done like this. Thank you. This is stupid ChatGPT, and I'm telling you what. Just saying. It outlines everything you should be telling us.
Really?
It is on my budget. I think there may be.
It's amazing what this stuff
You
is.
have to kind of keep it at
You want to say that out loud to the group? So what we got to work with so far is Lori's "I Can't Sleep Tonight" written diatribe, kind of giving us some ideas about all the points that should be covered, which I think is pretty complete, though not crafted in the final language we would want, obviously. And my response to that, which was, let's talk about the things we can do. What are the techniques we want to use? And the ones that I've put out there so far are, I think we need at least one, maybe two, public forum opportunities, like toward the end of July, first week of August, I would like to see us do some kind of a PowerPoint presentation to make this as simple to understand as possible and as clear as possible. I'd like to kind of convert that PowerPoint into a little pamphlet that could be handed out hard copy. And the idea that then I'd like to transfer the basics of it onto a mailer and do an every household mailer to the city of Newport about the election and what the issues will be on it and kind of, some of the basic FAQ stuff. And then finally, I don't know if we have the capability of doing this, but I would love to see if we could get an AI tool, which they're all over the place now, to help us do a series of 5 quick draw videos, short quick draw videos, one on each of the items we've warned for the election that could go out on social media. So those are the items that I've put out there as techniques that I think you might want to explore.
This is our boilerplate. Okay. So for a meeting with the presentation slides and like kind of a walkthrough forum, can we pick dates and figure out who's available and who can at least be the spokesperson, and then the rest of the task force can help robustly put together the slideshow and the content. But that way we have some key people that are not, we have talked about the city reps not necessarily being the delivery. So kind of looking at y'all, actually I just pulled up the calendar. So if people have their calendars, again, the 12th is the election. The 11th is a special meeting, so we can take questions there. My hunch is like the weekend before would be a little too tight. And I want to give us time to make a good presentation. Like I'm not expecting next weekend. But how are folks feeling about during the week in an evening, weekend event? Could we have one of both? What are we available and open to? And what do you think would be successful? How will we reach the most people?
Do you think like a town hall at North Country High School?
Yeah.
Becca Bella was just in there.
That would be a nice space, large.
Fit people on a weeknight.
Yeah, weeknight.
Jim, what's worked in the past to communicate stuff? What's worked in the past to communicate stuff to the community?
All I've done is put a word in the paper and go on until basically. Some stuff in here, they have a public hearing on certain issues. I've never known that more than one.
What were you saying in Vermont?
Didn't say anything about Vermont. I said that hasn't worked effectively. Paper is very limited. By all means, put it out there. But there have been town hall meetings that have worked. They've got to be in a place where people can hear. So the gym downstairs
It's not a good idea. It's horrible.
So here's a couple ideas.
Yeah.
A letter from Rick that goes out to every household in this town.
Yeah.
Press release, local media, the city website, create a FAQ page, public forums and community meetings, as we just mentioned, some social media posts. We've got Newport Rocks, we've got all kinds of resources there. We can post infographics explaining the basics of the bond if we get that far into the weeds with this. I think it's too late for utility bills, inserts or mailers, but I think the letter from Rick, I think just the personal tone, building trust, explaining the why, how we got to where we are, and please come and make your voice heard. Please come and listen to what we have to say, and let's all approach this with a solutions mindset as opposed to playing blame game, because right now we just need to solve, then we can go back and do a post-mortem. Nobody's going to really want to listen to that. They all want to go back and do the post-mortem, and I get it, but we're not going to solve the problem. The problem can't solve the problem, so we need the community to solve it. We can't. City council's not going to be able to solve it. And hopefully people will realize that.
I'm sorry, I have no idea your name.
Marlene.
Marlene, sorry.
No problem. I was just gonna say, I think maybe to help with that, and I don't know, like, like feasibility wise, but having a like corrective plan, what are the steps we're going to take to rectify this? How are we going to do the post-mortem? Like, what does that look like? Because it can't be done ahead of time, but I do think if we're going to ask taxpayers to do this, they need to know what's going to be done, and I think that that's like a lot of the trust building. And so if there can be kind of a list put together, like these are the things we will be looking at, these are the steps we'll be taking. I mean, again, like the basic
Love it.
stuff.
Corrective measures to make sure we
Yeah,
don't have
that feels really important.
One of the things we're talking about leveraging any social media and doing things of that nature. And I don't know if this is something we can do, but we do have Wednesday on the waterfront. So we should definitely make sure we're leveraging something like that, and in some way, whether it's like Q&A booth or something like that, where we're just, hey, here's something coming up. We want to make sure everybody's aware of it. You know, and maybe even make an announcement during the intermission of the show or something like that.
Pass the boot.
Pass the boot.
Pass the boot, yeah. Pass the hall. But, and the other thing is, because social media needs to swell, and what I'm thinking about is, I'm really going to be a great resource, but I'll do it. But everybody that's involved in the sewer committee, this committee, anybody that's in an elected role, and I don't know if we can ask people that are in government roles, like, I know we can't go to every individual, but those that we can legally ask, when we have our corrective action plan, everyone posts it to their Facebook page. Because that's going to be probably the best way of getting it out. Because I'm sorry, the mailer, as much as mailer's response rate is like, if I remember right, like 3% at best.
That's the one, right?
Yeah, 3% is what I've heard from mailers and stuff like that, yeah.
I think tabling at existing events Wednesdays on the waterfront, I think is a really perfect opportunity. And I work for a regional planning commission, and that's how we get the most engagement, is when we're at existing events that the community comes out to. We get a wide swath of
Yeah, so we
people
can,
who wouldn't necessarily be involved.
the farmer's market, and Wednesday on the waterfront, if we all take one, you know, we get a bunch of people to, you know, just be that person, and at least create some awareness and groundswell about what's happening. And we just have some very clear notes about what, you know, it's like, here's what's going on.
Set up a table at Vista or at one of the grocery stores.
Yeah, but you have to go to
Like
the
Girl
grocery store here in
Scouts.
Newport, like during the day.
Can I provide a little bit of guidance, advice?
Yes.
The task force is under the tutelage of the city council. The city council is expecting, based upon conversations at their last meeting, that the meeting on the 21st, they will be presented with what the task force thinks should be done. So you do have a deadline to produce something to show the council, for the council to approve distributing this information. And so you really have from the 21st or really the 22nd until the 11th to grind information out there in any way you can. But the cautionary tale is, as a task force, you're not granted authority to do anything like this until the council approves you to do it. So they're all great ideas, but I would be focusing on what are we going to present to the council to sell them that this is what we need to do.
Thanks for that reframe.
Yes.
Okay. So it's the 11th, next week, y'all. We'll iron this out. Okay, so the main things I'm...
And if you recall, the attorney wanted to see
Yes.
what was being presented to make sure that there was no influence statements being made in it,
Yeah,
that it was all factual.
yes.
Right, that if it's coming from the council, we're making as objective and dispassionate a description of what's going on as possible.
Yes, and I'm thinking of the FAQ document that is
Yes.
under really very scrutinized or slash, which is fair. It needs to be clear, no bias, no leading language, clear, direct. But I'm also thinking of the number of things that we're talking about, like a PowerPoint, like little friendly things you post on Facebook, infographics. Those things also we would need to make. So we're talking about a number of items right now, which is like, I don't know if it's confusing or overwhelming, but I just want to be clear, like I think creating a solid backbone, like what Lori has started here, is a great step. And then whether we use that or at least fine tune and make a really clean cut FAQ. I think there's a number of things we're going to need to present to council. FAQ, the PowerPoint, infographics, maybe little videos if we have time.
I think the FAQ probably is the first because you can drive everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once we're agreed on that. So do we want to start working on that? Is that part of our goal today is to work on the FAQ? What are the, let's try and get through 10 questions. Maybe it's a total of 20 questions. If we get to 20 by the end of the week, I think we'll have exhausted every question. Or
Yeah.
80-20 rule, we're going to exhaust most of the questions.
Yeah. I think being concise and it will go far. And I also want to explain the FAQ is just one way to put it, but it's just also like a pair sheet. It's the document that is able to go in with the voter, and so that's why it has to be very clear. It doesn't, and we can distribute it around as well, but it doesn't have to necessarily be a question and then an answer. I mean, it can be that, it can be a number of things, but the attorney also said like it can just be kind of a short explanation. Or am I wrong with that?
I think that's right.
Okay, yeah.
I think, Lori has started something. I think we
Yeah.
could share that and ask for input about things that we think, other things that need to be added to it. And then if we had maybe two people try and tighten that and turn it into something that's concise, that would be the document we would share with the attorneys.
So I'm thinking, what some of the things that Ann brought up the other night, which is, why are we asking for, whatever, $75,000 to add to the fire truck? And if you took, just in my head, if you took each article and did the FAQ with the article, and then break down, because as Dave said, the lawyer said, your voting article is just the facts. This is what we need, yes or no. And then if we present something like what I've put in, like I said, just thoughts off the top of my head. Why is it that we need $75,000? Well, number one, the original fire truck was not as promised. Number two, we had to renegotiate some things. Number three, the additions to the truck are now up to about $75,000. And number four, the money that we thought was there is no longer there. And unfortunately, we have to go out back and ask. Now, those words can be changed, but those are the facts. And just straightforward, this is what's happened, and this is why we're asking you to add $75,000 to the fire truck.
So
I think you got 5 articles we're going to talk about. I don't think you want to get too much in there because people start reading and say, this is too much. You might look at it. I think we're going to be telling them why we need it, and how we got there. 2 simple things. Why we need it, or how we got here, and what we're going to do about it. There's a whole bunch of questions for 5 different articles. In my experience,
People won't read it.
So what we're talking about is using a STAR approach: situation, action, result. So simple as that. Situation is we have X, Y, Z. Action, we're taking this. Result is expected to be this. It's a standard.
A good example of that is stuff they put in the water bill every year.
You read that?
Yeah, 3 different sheets. Nobody looks at that stuff. They get pushed into the top.
think this might be different only in the fact that people are very explicitly looking for answers,
Yes.
and there's what feels like an unresolved large, issue and ask. So I think there's definitely a balance to be had of it not being overwhelming, but also to assume that people do want information, and those that are looking for it should have access to it.
And simpler the better. The more you get into it, the more complicated it looks to people, the more confusing.
Well, let's start putting together our list, and we can, who has a shared doc drive that we can put everything on and just build that list.
We've been having our shared task force. We can create a separate folder into it, probably. But what I was just hearing from this conversation is just for each article, like, what is this for? How did we get here? So what were the
Situation, action,
actions?
result.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
That's
then
what I'm talking
what are we gonna do to not, to correct that plan? So maybe just having like 3 summaries, 3 short bullets for each article. That's enough content. Not sure, again, is that gonna be concise enough? But at least it is comprehensive. It is complete. We aren't skimming over anything. We're being very clear and transparent. So, I don't know. I see it. And questions on that? Okay. And then who wants to take a stab at this? Who wants to be on this one? Nice.
I can work with you on that. But Thursday afternoon, I'm heading to Burlington, and
Honestly, we need this by probably Tuesday. We're gonna have the attorneys look at it.
in the next couple of days, because Thursday I become
Yeah.
manual labor.
I'll be out of town all day tomorrow, but Sunday is.
ICE is gonna come get me, working like that.
All right, so do you want to just run down through and look at Lori's list that she's already done?
Yes.
So that we can see if there's anything missing that we really want to make sure we address.
Fire truck on additional 75,000 needed.
So, Lori, one thing I want to say is that I actually think your letter B may not be factually correct. My understanding is that the initial price tag on the truck was $800,000.
Yes, that's correct.
And there was no extra expected. And then it ran up to $875,000.
That's right.
And we have not, it's true that we did not build a budget this year to cover that extra $75,000. So if that's the point you're trying to make, I don't think it's factually incorrect. But I think the simple way to say it is just, this used to be an $800,000 truck, now it's an $875,000 truck 3 years later.
I think it's important to pick up what Andrew said, which was when the issue came up, the fire department said to council that we have money in our budget to cover that $75,000. So really, I think, to be fair about that line,
You're talking about 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
no, when it came up that
That's what I'm asking.
that it was going to cost $75,000 more, it could have been put in the budget. It could have been put in the next budget, but the fire department said, but don't worry about it. We have $75,000 in our budget that will pay that extra money. And then the bottom line is they spent that money on other. The fire chief, the new fire chief, spent that money on other
Temporary fire chief.
on other items. So it wasn't just not available. The other money, the $75,000, was spent.
Okay, so maybe we leave your point B and see if we can make it
We
as concise as
can
possible.
wordsmith that and make it sound better.
We can distill it down to its raw essence.
Came in over budget? Can we say it came in over budget?
The situation is we have a truck that costs $875,000. We only have $800,000 available. Action is we're going to borrow $75,000. The result is we're going to roll this into a debt obligation. Boom. And unfortunately, it does not address all of the details behind it, but couple of the FAQs that we're going to have to address in there, like at the bottom are, why is there such a budget shortfall? There are poor budgeting practices. The action is we're going to be taking,
Wasn't poor budgeting practices, and a lot of people know the story, so you do have to be careful.
well, once again, I don't have the history, but what I'm getting at is that's one of the questions we're just going to have to figure out a way to succinctly address.
This is not the issue where I think we need to spend a lot of time going deep. I feel like the real issue, there would be no issue if the truck was still an $800,000 truck.
That is very true.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't really think we need to go down this hole.
Exactly. So it's an $875,000.
There are others where I do want more.
$800,000, let's deal with it.
Yes.
After 3 years, it's up 75,000.
Yeah.
In effect, yeah, I mean,
So long as you're prepared to answer some questions, and they will be asked.
And if someone, absolutely, yeah. I
right.
agree.
In a public forum, happy to answer the question.
And I have a great answer to that. The situation is, we have new leadership, talk to Rick.
No,
we can
I'll be
answer
happy
that
to stand up and give the answer. I'm the defendant.
All right, so we got Lori's questions for item 1.
Okay, we're just measuring this around formatting. You know, later. Okay. Let's see.
And people have to realize that we're not asking them for the 300, for the 800, I'm sorry, for the 800,000 again, because they've already approved.
That's a good point. We need to state that explicitly.
Yes.
This is already approved at 800,000. We just need 75,000 more to make it happen.
That's right.
Just a couple more.
What's $75,000 among friends?
Well, let's see. 1 penny equals $32,000.
There we go again.
I'm trying really
Do
hard.
we even need to put the 800 in there? Can we just put 75,000 additional needed for a fire truck?
I think we do, because people remember, they want an explanation. Many people remember voting on this. It was only 3
Yes.
years ago.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal, that's right.
And let's not word craft it right now, let's just get the
Yeah.
information
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Which one do you want to do next?
And the corrective action plan for this is, we are,
Folding the 75,000 into the financing that was previously approved. We're trying to borrow 875 instead of 800.
and can we say something about large purchases need to be, I don't know.
Don't go there.
Okay, don't go there. Thanks,
I
Jeff.
agree entirely, Chip.
Yeah, we don't need to bring up, I mean, if somebody asks, we'll tell them. Yes?
You don't have to specify large purchases. You will have to say at some point that expenses are going to be really carefully monitored.
Yes.
We will,
Right,
yes.
right.
That is
That's
exactly the
better.
point.
That will
That's the
cover
better.
it.
That's
the
exactly right.
corrective plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is the
Monitoring,
result.
constant monitoring.
Okay, I'm trying to then, okay, so the
Do the water tower.
Yeah, the
The
3
3
million
million
is
water tower.
Article 1.
That's the easiest.
Somebody want to talk about working during the court?
Okay, and then I have to,
No, I'm serious.
can't see it over here.
Do you need help?
Another meeting.
If you think we can.
No, I'm asking, do you need help juggling back and forth between 2 computers? I think you're doing a great job.
Okay,
So the $3 million water tower, the fact is the bond has already been approved. However,
Here's the real situation. The situation is that it is not possible to arrange for the bond as we expected from Vermont Bond Bank in time to pay off the construction line of credit.
That's correct.
Therefore, we are asking the voters for permission for a short-term loan to cover us in anticipation of the bond income that we are arranging.
we don't really have to, right? Because it's less than a year.
No, we do have to.
We
We
do.
do.
Because
Okay.
we've already borrowed for a year on the construction line
I'm
of
sorry,
credit.
gotcha.
So if we continue, now we're past a year and we have to go back.
Okay.
That's why we're here.
Okay, gotcha. That's part of the question I had.
Because by charter, you're not allowed to renew a line of credit after a year automatically. So the voters have to allow us to renew the line of credit. And that's just written in your charter, and that's the reason we're asking.
Yep.
Is there an explanation of how did we get here?
On this one, I don't really think there is. I mean, what happened was it got fumbled and nobody went and worked with Vermont Bond Bank to try and arrange it.
No follow-through.
But the truth is, I mean, here, I really am not trying to cast aspersions. You know, this has been a 4-year project. COVID was going on. You know, nobody knew quite when the construction would happen. It just got fumbled with all the turnover, I think. So I don't want to point fingers on this one.
And it may not be 300,000 either.
We don't quite know where we are on that, right? And we should probably say that this is permission to borrow up to, though I just want to, I want to be careful about how we say that too, because last night, Water and Sewer was talking about the fact that part of the original warning that voters were voting on 4 years ago included language about water meter installation. So if we come in $300,000 or so dollars under budget on the construction, the easiest way to get moving on the water meters is to borrow the full $3 million, which has already been approved to include water meter installation, and then go crazy trying to put half our water meters in. That's their conversation.
So really, it's a little confusing because what the public did approve was 4.9 million minus any grants. So I think what would be fair to say is that the bond that was approved by voters in 2021 to 2022, if you want to be accurate, is 4.985, whatever it was, million minus any grants for the East Side Water Tower and
The reservoir cover and the water meters.
And for the East Side Water Tower and water meters. That's what we did approve.
That's right.
And then as a result of grants, you're asking for this approval of this bond now for $3 million.
Yes, up to
So
$3 million.
I think it could be a little bit
It could absolutely be
tighter to include the water tower in that.
Love it.
Because we did approve that.
Love it. That actually takes the mystery out of what's going on with the water with the water meter stuff.
And it is honest.
And it's right there. Yep.
I don't think Kim would be dishonest.
No, she's
just
saying this is actually reflecting what really was
I
intended.
understand.
Yeah.
Just because it's on television or you're recording it, I want to be very clear. I don't think anyone here is trying to hide anything.
No, it's just being thoughtful about the fact that it was originally warned this way.
Yeah.
It's just naming it.
So repeat the original warning that passed.
I'm sorry?
He's saying use the actual language for the original warning. It's a full paragraph, but it might be worth doing it.
Yeah, use the
Put it on a quote, say
4.95.
this is what passed.
Yes.
Use it.
The events
Just
that
use it
got
again.
in here were a line of credit that expires October 6th of 2025, and we are not allowed by charter to automatically renew it.
There it is.
So we have to have public authority to start another equivalency line of credit for another year until we can get into the bond bank.
There it
Those are
is.
the actual events that led to us having to ask again.
Voters approved this measure 4 years ago. Charter requires that if we borrow for longer than a year, we need voter permission. We're asking the voters to extend for an extra year while we arrange the Vermont Bond Bank for a long-term debt.
Yeah, and the warrant article is going to say $3 million in it.
Yes, that's right. It already has
Or
the
up to
language
$3
$3 million.
I'm sorry?
The warrant article that we just approved the other night already has the language $3 million, borrowing up to $3 million. I think that's all good advice.
Yeah.
And all of it can be verified.
Okay, those are the easy ones.
All right, this one up here.
Take your pick on the other.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Okay. They're funny, huh? Oh, sorry. Are you trying to? There we go. All right, Article 3, long-term note to be secured by Sussex Saving Bank. And the article language says to be issued to refund a deficit in the general fund account. Needed to find.
Does it read up to?
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed, yeah.
Okay, not to exceed, all right.
So,
I think the situation is we need operating cash because we have a deficit and taxes come in biannually. This will allow us to operate.
I'm not sure that's true, Hal. Chip, are you hearing what Hal's saying?
A little.
So Hal is saying that the issue here is, the situation is that we need operating cash because the deficit means we don't have a cash reserve. But in fact, what's really going on here is we're addressing an accumulated deficit, right? That has built up over a decade. And
it's an accumulated cash deficit.
yes,
So the fund balance looks like you have plenty of money, but the physical cash we have available is not enough to even cover our reserves.
yeah. I think it's a combination of what you were just saying and what I said, right? Because what I want to be careful to do is not imply, I don't want to get people confused about the difference between the line of credit that we just did on council's approval last week, which is for cash flow, and this, which at the end of the day is in fact for that because we're going to use it to pay back that line of credit, right?
Okay.
But it could easily confuse people.
I wasn't taking that, and I kind of mixed it.
It confused me, and I've been sitting here for 2.5 months.
Does the warrant article say we are borrowing from some sick bank?
No.
Then make no reference to where you're borrowing from.
Yeah, take that. Sorry.
secured to address the okay, the other parts. As calculation of budgeting, starting with yeah, so this kind of has to do with the final article.
It's a Department of Redundancy. The final article is an exact example of why we have Article 3.
She's gonna say, see, Article 5.
Yeah,
Not funny.
well, that's why I put does not include FY25. It should say miscalculation amount.
I'm watching your face.
It's my eyebrows, it's not me. They do their own thing.
You just look sadder and sadder, which I can totally relate to.
Worry about your
I found a mug at a thrift store that says, "Don't worry about me, worry about your eyebrows."
Okay.
So if we could just look globally at this one for a second, I think Lori has nearly captured it. Her A is referring to the mistake that's been made since 2019 fiscal year. B is, I don't know that we want B here. We want it below. Right? It's
Yeah.
not about this $1.8 million.
Well, you can say we repeated the same thing in the current year budget, FY25-26.
See Article 5 below.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would work, yes. Then C, I think, Chip, this is where we could use some help from you, where Lori wrote, uncertain where the other 500,000 is derived from. I've heard you use language that actually begins to try and pinpoint that or at least explain it. And if you could give us that language, I think people will want to know. Anybody who does math will do the math here, right? And say, well, wait a minute, that's 1.2 and you're asking for 1.8. So can you help us with the language for point letter C?
So I believe that the 500,000, as stated by KBS the other day, is related to the fact that the general fund cash has covered water and sewer expenditures for more than that amount of money for a number of years.
That's that whole thing that you saw when you first put the spreadsheet together, and we saw the 500,000, and then it showed up here,
Yes,
and it was just off every year, 500,000 off every year.
it was.
I disagree with your using the excuse of water and sewer because water and sewer, or sewer, is paying you back $1 million to correct the problems that were created by the claim that sewer owes the general fund. So this $500,000 is other than water and sewer, and it can be explained by either not bringing in enough income or being over budget on expenses. And you can see that if you look at the actuals, we were over budget on expenses for many, many, many years. But I don't think you can claim this $500,000 again for water and sewage. We already paid, sewage already paid $1 million, or when you get to it, it will have paid $1 million back for that deficit problem.
But remember, I'm dialoguing with you. I'm not really just trying to be contrary. Remember that when we started this process, if I remember correctly, the number that we were throwing around that water and sewer was in arrears was 2.8 million. And we addressed part of that with this $1 million. We addressed another big part of it with over $800,000 that we cleaned out of capital expense funds, the sinking funds that were many of them water and sewer funds, right? So that's another big chunk of it. But I don't think those two things together add up to the total deficit. Having said that, I can hear the Anchiarella voice in my head saying, yeah, but a bunch of those expenses weren't legitimately water and sewer in the first place. So just so you know, I understand that point. But my point is, what the council passed year after year, well, what the council allowed to go by as if it was a budget that had been passed, without passing it year after year, was a deficit budget that may have had those other things in it, but the deficit was real all the same. So on a balance sheet perspective, Chip, correct me if I'm wrong, but from a balance sheet perspective, what we're still trying to address is the fact that those budgets ran so heavily in deficit mode for so long. So in that way,
don't blame water and sewer for it. Just say that you didn't bring in enough income, or that expenses were exceeded the budget, which they did.
Just simplify to combine past expenses.
in water, sewer, and general fund? I don't know, Chip, did we do that?
Just say combined past expenses totaling approximately $500,000 needs to be covered.
Sure.
There we go. That language works, and I think does what you're talking about here.
Sure. I mean, it would be great if people knew what exactly those expenses were, but over a 7-year period, you're going to have a
I don't think we
hard
quite
time.
know yet. I also wonder, Chip, if some of that is money that we spent on the water tower early on that has not been picked up by the construction line of credit. But I don't know if we can figure that out in the next 3 weeks, or if that's even a red herring. Maybe it's not real at all. Do you know?
So, yeah, I believe that to be true from the work that Frank is doing, and has discovered that there were a lot of Aldridge and Elliott invoices from 21, 22, and 23 that never got submitted for reimbursements.
That's what I
And
thought.
so the construction started a year ago, but the project in terms of engineering and design and scope started 3 or 4 years ago. That's normal. And they just weren't tracked at that time to say our total project cost from inception to completion is X.
So
It's
I
way more
think
than
that,
construction.
I think that can be covered by Hal's kind of general statement, but I want to be clear in this room at least that I think what Chip's saying is likely to pan out, and we'll know more in the next month or two. And just to be clear, we will find all of those expenses, and they will all be attributed to the water and sewer project, and they will all come in as part of that overall budget for water and sewer. In other words, the $3 million we're asking for permission to cover will include some of those early expenses that never got put on the construction line of credit. It will in effect pay back the city for fronting some of that money, right? Because we did. We fronted a bunch of money that specifically can be attributed to the water and sewer project, we think. And we need to make sure that every single expenditure on the water and sewer tower counts as a part of the overall budget for the water and sewer tower.
Yeah, part of the 3 million.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But right now, water and sewer should not be in this. It should just be generally, remaining 500,000 of unpaid expenses, period,
Combined expenses without
water and sewer.
Yes, and take out the water and sewer
Just say
reference. general.
combined incurred expenses, because we're all paying
Yeah.
back.
There's combined expenses, don't say anything about funds.
That works for me.
Right.
And it lets us kind of slide over the fact that there are still many questions that I agree with Ann about in terms of,
Oh, there's tons of detail.
yeah.
It's more than.
We can try hard not to make any untrue statements, even if we can explain.
That's right. Is that unpaid expenses, or they were paid?
We're out of cash, so I assume they were paid.
Yeah, they were paid, they just weren't,
That's why I
there was
said-
no money for them.
That's why I said incurred expenses.
Incurred expenses, right.
Incurred expenses, fine.
Thank you.
There we go. I feel much better about letter C.
Yeah, there we go, thanks. And I don't think we need to put D in there. We don't need, they don't, I mean, we don't need to.
That's right, it's a condition
Yeah.
that we've already,
Well, the advantage of that being in there is the public isn't thinking you are pocketing the money. You are going to relieve one debt with this long-term debt, which is the whole point of trying to resolve the cash flow and the debt, the indebtedness of short term.
okay.
So we're required to repay our line of credit should this article pass.
Did you see how fast Carter put that back in there when you contradicted us, Chip?
When Chip's,
Undo, redo.
It's clear who's in charge here, Chip, just to be clear.
And should we put the year of that operating non-revolving line of credit loan? That it's for, is that for
Oh,
next
for
year?
25, 26.
For 25, 26.
Yeah, it couldn't hurt to put that
I
reference in.
think D should be per city charter.
Oh, I like that language.
Per city charter, we are replacing short-term debt with long-term to balance the budget, something of that nature.
Okay, we'll leave it to the two of you to craft more tightly.
There's five questions that I really think we need to address that before anyone's going to get a hoot about this stuff.
You mean in addition to all of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to those in a moment. Let's do the last one here, right? The next one is the last one?
Yeah.
This is
Oh, no, there's two more.
an FG questions for you guys.
Wait, 1, 2,
Okay.
3.
You're not balancing a budget with this, Carter.
No.
You're just replacing short-term debt with long-term debt.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
You're doing a great job, Carter. Thank you for scribing.
Yeah, no. I'm doing my best. Okay.
I just missed my scone.
Yeah.
Stop by NEK Vapors, they got it for you, baby.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
you want my fingers, I think my fingers.
Don't keep the brownie.
Okay. This is the last one.
So can we start with Lori's language again?
Wait a minute, there are 5, there should be
There's
5.
2 more. This one and the,
Did the fire truck one first.
yeah, but there's another one.
Yes,
There's the $220,000 reconfigure the,
Oh my God, I
Tax.
mislabeled it. Oh no, I didn't mislabel it. Okay,
No, I think
sorry,
it's
thank
okay.
you. All right.
okay, so Lori's got on this one, 8 years of
City council.
city council, not increasing the water sewer rates, fair enough, like,
Okay, let's take out the opinion and state the
Yes.
facts. The water rates haven't been increased for 8 years.
love it.
Not who's responsible,
Yeah.
just that it didn't happen.
Okay. We all know who did it, but that's okay. It's all right, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, otherwise you could say, you have enjoyed 8 years of flat water.
There you go.
Yeah.
And just for accuracy, there were some, I think there were some rate increases in that time period.
There was
I'm sorry,
nothing between 2016 and 2020, end of 2023.
Okay.
I think the first one was 2024.
I think so.
Yeah.
All right, good enough.
I'm not going to quibble about that year. It could be 7, it could be 9, I don't know.
I had one last November and one this spring.
Yes, but I think there was also a modest increase in 20, I don't know for sure.
I don't know, I'm just
But-
asking, it could be checked.
It would be helpful actually, Jim, to make sure we're making a statement of fact, if you could look at when those rate increases took place. I mean, the bottom line is,
1,000 miles away.
the increases didn't happen, period, and if they had, we wouldn't be in this mess.
So letter B is that mishandling of the budget amounts. That,
Yeah,
we can take that out if we need to.
yeah, I would take that out, because that's
Yeah.
that's questions who mishandled.
Yeah.
And that's going to light the torches.
And of course, then we have that one.
Well, but that's part of, so I would say higher expenses. I mean, do we need to have that in there? Because we.
No is my answer.
Yeah, I mean, that's
That's an
getting into
opinion, the
details.
decision was already made.
I always say.
The reason it's an opinion is because I've now talked with city managers in different places around the state, and everybody uses a different figure. And some are I don't think any are as high as 60% for the manager, but some are as high as 45 or 50%. It's not uncommon, so.
Well, that was, when I went through the budget stuff the other day, and Chip, thank you for your notes last week. When I was doing that, one of the things that was abundantly clear is that we need to have very clear salary budgets, salary lines.
Absolutely.
It cannot be this amalgam of, attributable to X, Y, and Z, because I think I looked at a line, it was like, salary budgets for the department was like $8,000. And I'm like, how do you have a team of that? I mean, $8,000 doesn't buy you a college intern in the summer.
Right.
So it made no sense. But that being said, lack of recalculation sewer rate, blah, blah, blah. I just think boil it down. 8 years of not increasing water rates has resulted in a deficit.
And the other factor in there was that it worked for a while. It didn't, because we had a surplus. 8 years of not increasing the water and sewer rates and the exhausting of the surplus.
Of any, yeah. So just 8 years of not increasing rates has depleted any reserves, and we are going to be.
And created a deficit position.
It's created a deficit position, and we are going to be adjusting the rates appropriately.
Yeah.
So we don't need B.
Okay, so this is.
I don't know,
You want B?
it's not unlike the city manager one, right? I mean, there were a lot of reasons that
Sure.
expenses were going up. I like it because a lot of people, it was a big thing in the news, and people knew that we were losing the leachate money, and, right, that, but I don't know. Chip, do you have an opinion about that? Does that feel like it's non-factual or too much opinion?
Well, relative to the budget, rates never kept pace with cost increase and revenue losses.
Right.
And that's a revenue loss or a costing because it's lost revenues.
Yeah, so maybe we take that.
That general statement would cover it.
It
Yes,
covers
it would.
It does cover it.
Okay, so
I think you're,
X and B.
So let's get rid of that. And say that again, Chip, the way you just said it, rates didn't keep
Oh,
up.
come on. Hit the 15-second button. That the rates never kept pace with cost increase and revenue losses.
There you go.
There it is. That works for me.
Yeah, it's accurate, and there's no arguing with that.
Okay, you
I don't know
can
about the last sentence.
smush it. I was trying to follow the what is this? How did we get here? What are we doing about it? To be paid with an increase in sewer funds starting with November 1st billing cycle owed in February and continually quarterly. Or so we could maybe even shorten that to say to be paid with increases in sewer funds starting in November and moving forward continuously, or what are
Has the new sewer rates already been announced?
No, not for that one. The sewer rates that we
Not
changed.
related to this, but there was already a sewer rate
Yes.
announcement. Right?
Going up again.
There was a sewer rate adjustment, and the first time people will see it on their bill is the bill that comes out the end of August, beginning of September.
And there's been no publicity about that?
Oh, yes. Everything we've done has been public.
Yeah.
It's been all over the papers.
So it's more a statement that you've already been given notice of the rate increases for sewer.
Yes, but this was not covered. The $1 million is not in any part of that rate increase.
Is that true? I'm not sure that's true.
We didn't we didn't even know about
I
it.
think they threw a number, they plugged a number in
I
for
think we
that
plugged a number in when we redid the sewer budget that
But we
night.
also got those numbers incorrect, which is what
Right.
Jennifer told you
That's
last
right.
night.
And we made a correction for the $3 million loan that, for the water tower.
Here's what's factually correct. I think what we could say and be factually correct is that the Water and Sewer Task Force continues to monitor expenses quarterly and will adjust them, and council will adjust based on their recommendations as needed. Right?
Okay.
That much, because I don't know if it's going to have to go up. I suspect it will, but I don't know, and I certainly don't know how much.
I think we're pretty sure it will.
Pretty sure.
And I mean, that's what I would, as a voter, would want to read is like, how are we not going to do this in the future? Like, we have some
Yeah.
eyes on it.
Council's watching it every quarter.
We identified that rates never kept pace with cost increase and revenue loss. Now some people are looking at that and make sure that doesn't happen. Okay. Right. Oh, I was just feeling so good.
feel happy to speak
any
here,
other thoughts?
former elected
Is
official.
there one more thing you want to say about that, Pam?
I'm just wondering if there's, one of the issues has been that council has not been watching it. The council was not only asleep at the wheel, they were seriously unhelpful. A lot of people know that. Is there a way that we can say that it's being monitored and it's not just the council that's doing it? Because I think trust is.
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, one thing that's happening now that is renewed practice at least,
Yes.
right, is that the council is reviewing our balance sheets, our correct, what are now valid balance sheets. It will certainly be at least once a month going forward.
Right, but they were supposed to do stuff like that before and we all know they didn't.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I know you get it.
I really do, but
Yeah.
I don't quite know what to say other than we're going to do it, I promise again.
Well, I think that that's where that corrective action sheet
Yeah.
will probably be very helpful.
Carter,
What's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
the term financial reports.
Thank you. Wait, right here?
No, just reviewing financial reports. There is no vote for them to take
Okay.
on.
That's right,
It's just
financial
a-
reports, yeah.
But that may be a more general statement that covers all the things you will be doing, remedying all the.
It certainly does, but
Yeah, but I think there has to be something very specific.
yeah, and it may be in that other set of questions that Hal wants to bring up too.
So ChatGPT says This bond will, or whatever, will include financial oversight, regular reporting, and strict guidelines for how funds are used. In addition, the city is implementing a long-term fiscal plan to prevent future shortfalls.
Like that language.
Do we have to give credit to who wrote it?
LLM.
Can you cut and paste that and send it to Carter so she can type it all in?
LLM.
I think that's great language to include, Lori, and how.
Some way, shape, or form.
Carter, the first sentence in that, should it be sewer rates? To be paid with an increase in sewer rates starting with November 1 billing
Yes.
cycle?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. This is getting tighter. Last one?
Oh, I scrolled.
I still think you need to check and see whether or not the $1 million is covered by that increase that starts in November. Because the reality is, if it's not, it's going to be added on after.
Well, I'm in agreement with you, but the fact is, the Water and Sewer Task Force already knows, and just letting the people, just saying to the people, there are going to be more increases starting November 1st, I think is going to cover a world of sin.
Because last night, Jennifer Hopkins told us that there were other challenges because we were moving so fast in the spring. So honestly, that's the problem. I don't know what's going to go up or down or get impacted here right now.
Nothing's
I think-
coming down.
I just think that the way it's put now, it means to me that this loan has already been covered by the increase in sewer rates that will start in November. And it is not in those sewer rates. This
Not yet.
Yes, okay. No, I see your point. It's the second sentence that's problematic here. I think it should be removed, right? We don't know, we're not saying how we're going to pay it at the moment. We're saying the Water and Sewer Task Force continues to monitor the expenses and will make recommendations for rate adjustments. That's all we're really saying here. Because you're absolutely right, and that earlier one doesn't necessarily cover this. We don't know for sure. And the later one hasn't been approved yet, so you can't really say anything about it.
That's fine.
Means.
They've done our job for us.
Okay. So this was for.
Okay, here's my recommendation on the explanation for this one. I think we need Chip to write down the little primer he just gave us, which was 2 sentences, about how this mistake was made and repeated over a number of years. And that's the lead statement.
Is that, wait, not what Susie got from?
No, the one Susie was sending you is in general.
Okay. Okay, got it.
Trust us, we're going to do it better now, I promise.
This is the one that's really going to take some convincing.
Honestly, I didn't come into the meeting the other night thinking this was the direction we would end up going.
Right.
I understand why the council did what they did, and I don't necessarily disagree. It's a challenge. But
I'm not so sure that I do agree, so.
Yeah.
But I saw what happened when somebody suggested there could be expenses cut, and a particular council member nearly went through the ceiling. So I think that you will hear other people say that.
yeah.
And
Well, the other thing we're not going to have time to talk about tonight is, maybe I could just take a moment and make this invitation to you all now. I have a meeting set at 11 o'clock on Monday morning with Marguerite Ladd from Vermont League of Cities and Towns, who is their kind of expert on municipal finance. And I wrote to her a couple of weeks ago now and asked what she knew about zero-based budgeting and how often it's used in municipalities. And she wrote back and said, I don't really know any places that are using classic zero-based budgeting, which is like starting over with an entirely clean slate. But I know of plenty of places that are using priority-based budgeting, which does not just assume that last year's budget is your starting point. And so I'm going to have a meeting with her that's kind of a primer on that. And you all are welcome to join me if you'd like to, Monday morning at 11 by Zoom. I'll be here and I can send a link to anybody who wants.
we have been told in the past by a department head that what happens is that uses the bucket approach and adds 10%. That's not okay.
Yeah, that's a common practice that I
I
don't
know,
think is useful
it's not
here.
okay.
Right, I agree. So we're going to reform that. So I don't really want to try and take that on in this
Right.
moment, but I think it's important as we start looking toward budgeting for next year.
Particularly as this one might not pass.
And that was on the agenda, just the upcoming meeting invite, so crossing some things out. All right.
Doesn't they go find this?
Oh, I'm sure they will.
So,
Okay.
Carter, the last sentence, if approved,
Uh-huh.
Be smart.
we'll reconfigure on the tax bills. We haven't even done the tax bills, so we don't even need that sentence at all.
I agree.
Great. Less typing.
What do you mean we've reconfigured it?
We haven't, that's what he's saying.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so what is it? $220,000 requested to be out of the total tax revenue to this calculation statement. Going back to our, how did we get here?
So
Is it like
this-
see Article 2?
This is a repeat of the events in Article 2 within the current budget.
This is just a specific line item.
That's right.
I think it's just, this is a specific item we are calling out. It's worth highlighting. Just saying it's a repeat, it's a specific aspect of it.
This calculation.
Because it was
Excess revenue.
particularly.
I think what I heard Chip saying, and that I agreed, was that we don't need the sentence beginning
Sorry.
if approved,
Yeah, sorry.
right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's a correction. It's a correction of events in Article 2 within the current budget,
Yes, I like the word correction.
as opposed to repeat. Like, since, again, that sort of implies that you did it again.
I like it. Like I have editors and everything.
Love it.
Yeah.
So can we leave the last pieces of that to Hal and Lori to figure out?
Because I think the things that I'm putting on the list, these are kind of details, but the questions that I think we need to kind of start wordsmithing, and I'll drop what I think most people would say is, why is there a budget shortfall? That's question number one.
Yep.
Question two, who is responsible for that shortfall? So we need to have an answer that doesn't create mass panic in the streets or anything like that. How much are we borrowing? I think there's just a general question. Just how much are we borrowing? And as soon as you start talking about borrowing, people tend to go down certain rabbit holes like, did you go to other banks? So we mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned something in there anywhere. We took it out, I thought we did. But, you know, who'd you talk to? Kind of questions like that. So that might be a better way to put it. Was the total budget shortfall? That's going to be a question. You know, like, hey, what's the budget shortfall?
No, so be careful. I don't think we want to call it a budget shortfall. What we're calling it is an accumulated deficit. Because it's not one budget, and it's not this year's budget.
Well, what I'm saying is, these are questions that I would anticipate.
Right? So I'm just saying, let's not plant that language, because I don't think it's accurate to state the question that way.
Okay, so I'll put it as accumulated deficit. How are you fixing all this? Going to the question, you know, how are you? Yeah,
Susie.
exactly. You know, here's some of the details, specifically what we're doing.
Susie says.
You actually did a lot of this. That's pretty impressive. It's almost like your chat.
So,
Yeah.
Secret
That's what I keep telling Felicia. I don't need chat GPT.
I've got a golf cart.
yeah.
By the way, so everybody knows that warning has been posted in town, so it's out there.
Okay. Does that mean we need to post it in 5 places around town at the same time?
5 places already.
If you've already done it?
Oh, yeah.
Where they, just so I can answer the question, where did they go?
Went here, clerk's office, Mr. Building, the library, post office, Jimmy Quick, finish off.
Got it. Thank you.
Sweet.
Pick and shovel.
Everybody goes to pick and shovel. Yeah.
Screw it, Tim and Doug's.
Why everybody?
Yes, that's the same store.
Why no? No. There's a lot of people that don't even go in the pick and shovel. The line at Tim and Doug's is all the way to Main Street.
So can we pick a date
Yes.
for the public forum if we're going to, are we, and I think one is going to be all we can pull
I
off.
think so.
It's gonna,
And I think the idea, here's my question about going out to the high school. I'm a little bit anxious about doing it at the high school because I'm afraid only 80 people are going to show up.
Right, right.
And they'll be lost in a sea of 1,200 seats or
What
whatever.
about the
it is.
gateway?
well,
The gateway maybe, but that's not air conditioned, is it? Is it?
On the doors.
Well, when it's 89 degrees.
It's a great way to manage crowds.
Is it?
Yeah.
well, no, the library,
I'm gonna make sure.
if you go to the Career Center in room 220,
Yes.
that's the split room.
Yeah.
And just talk to, I can see her face.
I know who we're talking to. I can do that.
And-
I think that's actually a good idea. I like that room.
Just
It's
do it
plenty of
there.
parking.
It's plenty big,
Where are we going?
In the North Country Career Center's seminar room
220.
on the first floor there.
It's nice space.
Oh, like
We can
right
do a
when you
half
come into the
one.
right.
Even a half
So
one
there's,
is-
it would be really easy to sign, and you could see it from the street.
Yeah.
So like
Right.
if somebody's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's at the high school, but I'm confused. It's like literally.
Yeah.
No, it's right
Okay,
there.
great.
I think that's a
So
great
like
idea.
that.
Are you doing more than one
No.
location?
No, I don't think so. I think we do one, and then we just blanket everything else we can, social media, newspapers.
What do you think about time?
Yeah, so Lori, Pam, and Ann are the ones who have been doing this for years. What works best from your perspective?
It's the middle of summer, so people have their kids at home, whether they want them there or not.
Right. I mean, if it were winter, I'd say maybe Sunday afternoon or evening, but I'm afraid in the summer we won't get
You
anybody.
don't want
So,
a weekend.
so the council meets on the 21st.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It has to be approved by the council on the 21st. My recommendation is Monday evening, July the 28th.
Yeah,
We don't have a council meeting.
I like it.
I like
People
that.
who normally would go to a council meeting would, we're going to warn it anyway. So if everybody on the council wants to be there, because we're going to warn it as a meeting, right? I mean, it's a public, I don't know how you
It will
guys-
be on the events calendar on the website.
Right,
That's
you're
right.
going to provide refreshments, and I don't mean a four-course meal, because that has an impact, because we've got people coming from work and they're hungry, they're
Right.
pissy.
Love it. Yes, we will provide refreshments. Carter's going to make 1,000,000 scones.
Something that has made a difference.
It's good practice,
And that's for us is saying, feel free to bring your kids. We'll have coloring sheets.
Yeah.
So childcare is not.
Love it.
If you've
We
got,
can handle
if you've got
things
people
like
that can provide the childcare.
There's heavy equipment in the, there's welding equipment, auto shop,
Yeah, we'll let the kids play in the automotive shop.
the steel bender in the shop room. Perfect.
There's a cafeteria.
So are you going to warn it as a task force meeting?
I think we're going to warn it as a community forum on the August 12th election issues, or ballot issues.
Yes.
So can everybody on the council come to that, Chip? Or how does it have to be warned to be able to have?
Oh, that's a good question. If all the council members come, it's automatically a council meeting.
That's okay.
Because it's discussion of
Okay.
city business. So if you do it as the task force, then when they come, they are attending a task force meeting. If they do it as a council meeting, then they go through the formal roll call and everything else, and then just open it as a public meeting, very similar to the way it would be done on the 11th.
Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion. It's a public forum hosted by this task force.
Right.
And council members can attend because we are allowed to attend
Right.
in
Jim's
larger numbers.
suggesting that council would open it as they do with regular meetings.
No, he's saying if it were a regular council meeting, that's what you would have to do. If it's a task force meeting, we can just hold a forum, right? Right, Chip?
And they're just in
That's what I heard him
attendance.
say.
I think that the community wants to hear it. If you're only holding one meeting, I think the community wants to hear it from the council. And the task force can come in and talk about individual aspects of it, but it shouldn't have the official imprimatur of the council.
Right. Effectively, it's a prerequisite to the August 11th event.
But that's what's
Which is-
happening on the 11th.
So what we're saying is we're
Correct.
more
But
than
that doesn't
two.
mean you can't have more than one.
That's right.
The law states you must have one,
Right.
no sooner than 7 days or something like that, no less than one.
So,
And so you can have one outside of that 7 days. It doesn't count towards meeting the letter of the law. But for the public standpoint, you're extending what the requirements are to the benefit of the public to have a meeting with council to do just that, talk about this.
okay, so it's a public forum hosted by city council.
Right.
I think that's going to give you the best appearance.
Okay,
Because ultimately, they're the ones that warn for the meeting and for the public hearing before the meeting. And what they're doing, if you will, is a pre-presentation before the August 11th presentation. Whatever you glean and learn on the 28th, you present next time on the 11th.
that sounds good to me. What I picture in my head is that in the front of the room, we have council members who are present, any members of the task forces, the 2 task forces, and that Carter and I would facilitate the event between us. We would share the facilitation.
Plus water
If
is,
there's storms, I might show up.
Hey,
And
I'll-
where-
just let me know. I'll prepare.
At the North Country Career Center, the high school.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Lori?
so, and water and sewer meets on the 24th. So by then, we'll have the approval of the council for what we're doing. And we can, I mean, I come to those meetings anyway, so I think that we can present it to the members of the water and sewer task force so that they can see what it is we're going to be presenting, so they will be knowledgeable of what's happening.
Yep.
Yes, and I think we should let council and the members of the Water and Sewer Task Force know ASAP
Yes.
that this is the date we're locking in.
Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
I don't expect all of us will be able to be there, but we'll get most of us there.
I just want to clarifying factor of when, so I like all the folks that are behind this. It's taken a lot of brains up there. But also I heard in the last meeting that it would be preferential for not the legislative body to be delivering this information. I'm happy to facilitate, but do you also need that other folks would talk and walk through this? And we are just fielding questions or like basically monitoring?
So,
Like,
yeah, good
About
question.
that.
We did say in the last meeting that we weren't sure about that. I've thought about it a lot, and actually I think that this council, mayor and council for the last 4 months has done everything possible to show as much transparency as possible. And I think we're gaining some level of confidence in the community. So I actually think it's a good thing for members of council to show this kind of leadership and for me to do it with you. So I think having the 2 of us facilitate it with everyone else there to ask specific questions if one comes up and just kind of say, yeah. I mean, Lori has done that now numerous times in a room where I've been where she said, I just want to be clear. I've been sitting in these meetings and this has been my experience, right? Or this is the way I understand that. Or Susie could say, well, when I check ChatGPT, everything we're doing is fine. So I do think it's okay.
Not a hallucination.
I'm curious what the original reasoning was as far as not having.
There was some question about whether or not it would look like mayor and council trying to sway voters. But in fact, the council is trying to sway the voters. We've worked our asses off trying to come up with this plan, right? So I don't think that's kind of the conclusion I came to, is it is our plan.
And I think,
We really don't have any other
And we don't have any choice.
and asking for this money, that money is going to in some way be
here to say, what have we done?
like handled by the council.
And in every,
That part, yeah, that's
That's
what I'm saying.
It needs to be
yeah, I think that's right.
present for that.
Okay.
What if we don't?
What if what?
What if they don't?
Add some staff.
Well, actually, this is a great question to end on. Do we need the FAQ sheet to include a question? What happens if we don't pass these recommendations?
Yes.
Yeah, I went ahead and added it.
And you used Dave Rue's beautiful 2 sentences that he said Monday night, and I've gone back and forth in the video and I can't find them yet. It was, I sat there going, why didn't I write that down?
I know, I had it.
'Cause it was beautiful.
I can't think
It
of
was-
the word afterwards that he used.
It was absolutely
All right, but
beautiful.
we'll trust you and Hal to come up with it.
I'll go back to the video, so Pam, if the viewership goes up 1,000,000 times, you'll see.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm not suggesting you would do this, but I want to make sure that the language doesn't appear to be threatening, right? We're not saying, you better do this or else.
Well, no,
It was actually threatening.
it was pretty threatening,
Yeah.
because we have one, it was, well, I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
Because
You're
he said, you have one of 3 choices. One, you vote on it and you pay it in a long-term debt,
Yep.
which is what we're asking. 2 and 3 were, I was like, ooh. Basically, it was, we're gonna lump all this money, $1 million into 12 months, and you're gonna have to pay it. In the next 12 months, all of this deficit, $2.8 million, is gonna have to be paid like that.
Yep.
Add it to the next tax bill. Or in increments of 5% until it is covered over a period of 5 years by state statute.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. May I have
So,
another?
so we have a 12-month plan, a 5-year plan, or a 20-year plan.
Yep.
How do you want to pay it back? Which one of those options do you want?
There was
Right?
another option. The other option was or sell off a city asset.
Well, okay, so I want to say something, and this is for a conversation for another day because it's almost 6 o'clock. I had, I'll just say it. Doug Spates said to me last month, if it were him, a businessman in this town, he would sell Prouty Beach and take it off the city tax rolls and use the money. That's exactly what he would do, is put it into private hands and let them run it, take our employees away from it and let someone, I'm just saying that on camera, it was recommended by an influential businessman in town.
He is not the only person to have made that recommendation to me.
I've heard it too.
So,
The
Selling
question is, are there city assets? Another way to put it is, are there city assets that could be sold?
Right.
Prouty Beach would have to be on that list.
yeah,
The Gateway Center is another asset potentially.
yeah.
The Gateway Center's been discussed many times.
I was going to say, I might feel differently about that one,
Makes
Right.
sense, yeah.
right? But, so I don't think any of those should be, we are not in this moment making decisions not to pursue other options.
Right.
Though, I'll be damned if I'm going to go down as the mayor who sold Prouty Beach. Because I do believe that the legacy of that property is critically important to our characters
Yes.
and community.
Right, yeah.
But there are other possibilities out there.
I mean, I would throw out the other one. I mean, in my all of 8 months here, as I jokingly tell people as I'm explaining where we live, we're in the Newport Derby Metroplex. And the simple fact of the matter is, if you come from the outside, it all seems like one big thing.
Right.
And consolidation of municipalities is not an uncommon or unheard of thing.
That has been suggested many times.
I'm sure it has, but there's certain economic realities
Yeah,
that
I'm not disagreeing.
Like I said, all of this stuff is
yeah,
future
all this stuff can be on the board, but right now, let's stop drowning before,
Right.
and then we can
You've done
start
a great
swimming.
job. Chip, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chip.
Checks in the mail, Chip.
Yeah, Hal, did you go through those budgets, 24, 25, 26, and compare them?
I was trying to look at that. I'll tell you what, it was not impossible for me to understand what the hell was going on with some of this stuff because I just don't have the context. And that's where I was talking about, like, stuff like salaries are so unclear in these.
Yeah.
There has to be drastic simplification of how we're budgeting and accounting for stuff so that someone can come in and, one, audit it, two, understand it. If you're not, I mean, fortunately, you're getting paid to do this. I really haven't had a whole lot of time on the, on the spare time front this summer to take hours to go through it. Like, I have a list of questions at home going through it where I'm like, yeah, this doesn't make sense to me. I can't understand what's going on. It's
So
kind of a beast.
if it seems helpful, Hal and Chip, the city would be happy to pay for an hour of Chip's time for the two of you to have a conversation about this.
Well, I'd invite other people to be part of that conversation.
You are welcome to do
Change the
so.
session. Okay.
Well, absolutely.
All right. Okay.
And if so, put it on a task force meeting, we all can talk about it.
Yep.
And at some point, we'll have to talk about the charter accounts and.
Chip?
Two can go hand in hand.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
We probably should just come up with a list of questions that we can just.
Let me do that face again.
and the internal controls. I'm big on internal
Talk to
controls.
them now, yes.
Yeah. It's like pretty comprehensive.
Are we done?
We're done.
We're done.
Thank you, Chip.